Hey Tires, Darren here, back with another fly tying tutorial. Today we're going to be tying the McLeod Ugly. This steelhead pattern was developed back in 1962 by Ken McLeod, and it's since gone on to become quite a respected steelhead pattern. Now, although these dark patterns are not as popular as some of the brighter color flies for steelhead, this fly has done pretty well and has saved many skunk days. It can be tied either weighted or unweighted, but either style you do, it should be fished close to the bottom. We're going to use a little bit of copper wire to help reinforce the hackle on this. Alright, let's have a look at the materials and get started. Alright, let's get a fresh hook in the vise. I'm using a heavy wire salmon and steelhead hook today. This is size 2, and this is the Superfly salmon fly hooks. Alright, so we'll start by tying our thread on. I'm going to put a little bit of a base down. Trim off that tag end. I'm going to tie in a red marabou tail. As you can see, I got this really awful looking red marabou. Now, I don't throw these away, I save them for applications such as this. So I don't need to wrap this, I don't need the tips to be pretty. So I'm just going to tear off a few of the fibers. Trim off that tag end. Let's just tie that in along the shank. Down to the tail. So I don't need a long tail, so what I do is I just grasp it firmly and I can just pull off what I don't need. And then I've got a nice thick tail. If you want a little bit tapered, you can pull off some fibers up here as well, just to kind of taper it. Next I'm going to tie in some medium copper wire. So just tie that along the close side here. And I want to make sure that I take this end and fold that back, because the wire is fairly slippery, and if you don't fold that tag end back, it can actually come out. That's not what you want. Alright, make sure everything's tied down nicely. Next I'm going to use some of my laser dub. I'm using a black dubbing with a little bit of blue Angelina in there, or blue ice dub. And we're just going to dub that onto the thread. I'm going to build up a little body. Don't need it to be too bulky. Now, the original pattern calls for black chenille, which would be just great to use if you've got it. I'm using this dubbing just because I like to have a little bit of the extra accent in there. Once this fly gets fished a little bit, this dubbing's going to pull out a little bit in between the hackles, and some of that will be the Angelina or the ice dub. And give it a nice buggier look. I like the way those flies look after they've been through a couple fish, and for whatever reason it seems to help your catch rate. Alright. Next, I'm going to pull out the grizzly saddle, and we're going to go into the back. We're going to find a really webby hackle and something with a lot of length in it. We're just going to pull some of these fibers off the back so we can make a stem to tie in. So I've got the concave in the back. And we're just going to tie that stem down, fold it back to lock it in place. And then we'll trim off the little excess. Alright. So we'll want to palmer this. I like to do a couple wraps right at the front. And then we're going to wind this backwards. Try not to trap any fibers in there. And I just give it a little fluff every wrap to help separate some of those hackle fibers that seem to stick together. Alright, all the way down to the tail. Now I'm going to take my copper wire. I'm going to reverse wrap that just so that everything gets locked in place. You can see I kind of wiggle that wire as I go forward, just so I'm not locking down too many of the hackle fibers. And I like to just wrap it a little bit at the front. Just to really lock it. And we're going to go with the back of our scissors. Just cut that off. And then for this back hackle, you can just give it a quick snap and it should come off. So that's a pretty good looking profile. I really like that. This would be a great little steelhead woolly worm at this stage. We're going to add a bear hair wing on this. I don't have a lot of bear hair left in my stash, but I do have a little bit, so we're going to use a touch of it. And if you don't have bear hair, you could probably use some sparse bucktail, or if you've got a nice patch of fox or something like that, that should work fine. We just need a small clump of bear. And what I like to do is just take these tips, the longest ones, and pull them back just to even them up. And we'll put those ones on top. So we'll just split that hackle down a little bit and let this wing sit in between. We'll add a couple wraps just to make sure we got her in there. And we'll come in and cut off the butt ends. There we go. We'll just clean up that head a little bit. Add a couple whip finishes to the fly. That's a pretty durable steelhead fly. There you go. McLeod Ugly. Thanks for stopping by my fly tying channel and watching my tutorials. If you're new here and like this sort of thing, why not hit that subscribe button? I'd love to hear from you, so if you have anything to say, leave it in the comments below. Until next time, this is Darren saying, keep a hook in your vise. Cheers.